Welcome to Colonel Grumpy's STEM Club. And today we're going to go and take to the air with Captain Steve Lambrick of the Ford Tri-Motor. Steve, can you tell us a little bit about the Tri-Motor?
Well, this particular airplane is a 1928 Model 5AT. I think it was the 80th Tri-Motor off the assembly line. They built 199 of them. And it started service with Transcontinental Transport, which is the livery that she carries today. Was also one of the airplanes that was in the inaugural day of the Transcontinental Air Service, where they went coast to coast by train and plane in 48 hours.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about the engines?
Originally, the airplane came with Wright engines. Those were no longer serviceable just because of the spare parts weren't available. So they've all been converted over, well, most of the Tri-Motors have been converted over to the Pratt & Whitney R985 engine. That's what this has, 450 horsepower 985s.
Okay, the history of this plane, at one time it was covered with just plain sheet metal.
It was spent part of its life in Mexico. Two different brothers owned the airplane. It was damaged at one point to the point where they had to reskin the airplane, and they reskinned it with smooth skin, and it was nicknamed the Smooth Skin Ford. It then sat derelict for a number of years, and a collector bought it and brought it back to the United States and had somebody fabricate the original specification corrugated sheet metal and reskin the airplane to its original configuration.
Do you know how many times it was remodified or restored?
I don't. I know that the current state of restoration, most of that was accomplished, I believe, in the around the 1976 timeframe. The airplane was owned at one point by the William Harrah Automobile Collection in Reno, Nevada. I wasn't even aware that he had airplanes in his automobile collection. I saw the automobile collection, it was amazing. But he is the one who I think is responsible for putting the airplane into its present condition.
One of the things that amazed me was when Ford came out with the Model T, they called it the Tin Lizzie,
Yep.
and now they call this the Tin Goose, right?
That's right. That's exactly how it got its nickname. No tin on the airplane, but it was just I think just a play on the Tin Lizzie's nickname.
Yes. How long have you been flying it?
Almost 3 years now, and I had a lot of vintage aircraft time. Well, not a lot, but enough to qualify the program. There's 15 of us that tour the country with the two Tri-Motors with the EAA. And we go to wherever the airplane is and hop rides all weekend, take it to the next stop for the next guy, and then he shows up and does the same thing, and it just keeps going all year long.
How many planes are active Tri-Motors out of 199?
I think the last number I heard, there's only really 6 that are in flying condition, and we operate the only 2 that sell rides. I think there's another 2 that are flown semi-actively, but they're not part of a ride program per se.
Okay, getting back to some of the history, is it true that the plane was used at one time for barnstorming?
Yes, and this was a lot of people bought these and toured the country selling rides like we are, so you get people from. I've had people from the 30s that this was the airplane they ever flew on, and then some from the 40s and 50s that got a ride with the Barnstormer. Some people that flew on them in the 70s, into the Erie Islands in airline operation. I had a gentleman on my last stop in Rapid City who was the other model we have, the 4AT. That airplane was owned by Johnson Flying Service, I believe it is, out of Idaho, and they carried smoke jumpers, and he actually had jumped out of that airplane several times and had photos posing with the airplane, and his smoke jumper outfit, and we had another gentleman that same weekend who had done the same thing, which was kind of surprising. But yeah, they've carried smoke jumpers, they've been crop dusters, they were barnstormers. There was a guy, I'm not sure what time frame it was, probably 30s or 40s, and he actually did an aerobatic routine with one of these. His name was Harold Johnson. You can find the videos on YouTube. Loops, rolls, cubinades, spins, hammerheads with a trimotor. I had a hard time getting around the pattern. I have no idea how he did that.
Yeah, the top speed is what, 149 knots?
Yes, yeah. So he must have just been flying the heck out of the airplane to get it to loop.
Yeah, I was gonna say, usually for barnstormers you see Stearmans and things like that.
Yeah, when I do fly the airplane empty, it does have a lot of extra performance. With 10, 11 people, it feels like it's working, but it does feel pretty, well, I wouldn't say nimble, but more nimble when it is empty. So I could see him with just pushing those engines up and making it do what he did. But he was definitely one of the original barnstormers with this airplane.
Okay. Tell you what, could you explain some of the decals on it, or?
On the side there, it says the City of Port Clinton. They Continental Air Transport used to name their airplanes. Usually give it a city name. So this airplane was originally known as the City of Wichita, which is on the other side of the fuselage. The current owner of the airplane is a museum in Port Clinton, Ohio. So they, did that on this side just for that reason. The livery for TAT is like it was when it was flying in the 30s. It did other things after that, but that was its original mission, so that's its current livery there. There's an interesting embossed plaque by the TAT logo, which actually shows that it's the Ford Airplane Company, which was part of the Williams Stout Metal Aircraft Company. So that's about all I can see on the outside there.
Okay, you know what? When I was looking up some information, they said that the original planes had the cables running along the outside and the gauges were on the outside.
They still are.
Okay.
So all the control cables run externally, and on that pylon above the engine is the engine instruments for that engine, and it's the same on the other side. The center engine, I have engine instruments on the instrument panel, but to see what the tachometer, oil pressure, or oil temperature for the upward engines, I have to look out on the pylon.
Okay. At one time, they flew a trimotor over the South Pole. Now, wouldn't that cause them to freeze up?
Well, I think that was Bird that did that. They took it down there on a ship. The thing that would freeze is you'd have to preheat the oil. The airplane control-wise is pretty simple, not much to freeze or have issues with. But when you get into conditions like that, whether it's Arctic or Antarctic, the oil gets so cold that it won't flow. So they probably had to preheat the oil in order to run the engines. But other than that, it probably worked just fine.
One last question. With it being corrugated, it cuts down on the drag. When they put the plain metal on it, did it improve the performance?
It did, because the corrugated actually increases the drag. You're pushing more surface area through the air. So they only corrugated it because they thought they needed to do that for strength, because the aluminum was this new unknown material, which is so common to us today. But I don't know, I've never heard what the performance difference was when it had the smooth skin on it. I can only imagine it was a little better, although with its basic design, it's never going to be a sleek, fast airplane.
Okay. Steve, we'd like to thank you, and we're going to be going up for a ride in just a couple minutes, and we're going to have some fun. All right. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm astronaut Eric Bowe. When you pack for space, you prioritize, but you also find yourself bringing something special. I brought my Silver Air Patrol award on the Space Shuttle Endeavour. In the Silver Air Patrol, I flew solo for the first time, and I learned aviation history and leadership skills. Challenge yourself, do what you love, see where flight takes you.
Welcome to the activity portion of our show. Since we were talking about the Ford Trimotor airplane, we figured we would stick with the aviation theme. And what better activity is than to build a couple gliders. And what you're going to need is a manila envelope, and with the manila envelope you're going to draw yourself a pattern. You'll need a ruler, a pencil, or a marker, and you just go and start drawing. Design your own plane. And once you get the design you wanted, you're gonna cut out the design and you have a template. And here's one of the designs all ready to be cut out. And what you do is you use scissors under adult supervision and you start cutting out the template. Why are we using a template? Because what we're going to do is transfer this onto a styrofoam meat tray. And meat trays are very easy to come by. Either you could ask your butcher for one at your local grocery store, or you could save it when your mom buys meat, have her wash it off, and then you have it all set to use. Okay. There's one part of the template all cut out. Okay, and since we have the template all cut out, we're going to start to transfer it onto our styrofoam meat trays. And then you use a marker to transfer it. And once you have it all transferred onto the meat tray, what you'll do is cut it out. You could use scissors, or you could use a hobby knife. If you use a hobby knife, you need to have a cutting board so you don't cut the table, and you need to have your parents' supervision, or an adult supervision in using the knife. So we have it all cut out almost. And don't forget, you have to cut out for the wings, which is kind of tricky. Okay, once you have it all cut out, you just pop it out. forgot to cut this one out. Okay, and you just take it. And you have your parts all cut out. All right, what you want to do then is to take your template, and on your template you have lines for your flaps and your ailerons. And what you're going to do is you're going to use scissors to cut those and take in right at the, you don't want to cut the whole wing, just a little flap in it. Okay, once we have that done, what we'll do is put the airplane together. And sometimes you have to make a few adjustments on the where you cut out the hole. Okay. We're going to need to cut this out a little bit more. And we have plane number 1 already built. Nice glider. And let's do number 2. We have it all pre-cut, and we just pop it out. And plane number 2, what I've done was I made a different type of design on the airplane. So what we're gonna do afterwards is to see if the design of the airplane makes a difference in how it flies. Okay, we have both airplanes made, and what we want to do is make up a chart, design number 1 and design number 2. And what we're going to do, or what you're going to do, is to see how it flies best using weight. We're gonna take and you'll take and first try it without putting any paper clips on the nose and see how far it goes. You measure how far it goes. And then you put it down up here, how many feet. Then you'll take a small paper clip, put it on, and then throw it and see how far it goes. And then you'll put it down on where it's a small clip. And then after that, you take a larger paper clip and you put it on and you give it a throw. And then you measure how far it went and put it down where it says large clip. And then you'll do the same thing with your second design airplane. And what you can do then is take and the flaps and the ailerons and bend them and see how they fly next. Do they fly better with them flat, or if you bend them up, do they fly better that way? If you put them down, do they fly better that way? It's something for you to experiment with. Okay, this has been the activity portion of Colonel Grumpy's STEM Club, and I will see you next week. And I salute to you, and remember, readers are leaders and they don't do drugs.
If you live in the Champaign-Urbana area and you are 12 to 18 years old for our cadet program, or over 18 years old for our senior program, and are interested in joining the Civil Air Patrol, we invite you to attend our meeting Monday evenings, 6:30 p.m. at the School of Aviation at Willard Airport in Savoy.